Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and her co-accused will apply for bail in the Bloemfontein Magistrate's Court today. Last week, the defence asked for more time to prepare due to several developments, including the state adding 2 more accused allegedly involved in Thabo Bester's prison escape. The suspects in court today include former G4S employees and a camera installer at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. They're accused of helping Bester, a convicted rapist and murderer, fake his own death in a prison fire. The bail application is expected to take 2 days. All right, let's get a sense of the big issues that we are keeping our eyes on as we prepare for this bail application. Mnisi is our reporter who's been closely following the details of this story. Shall we begin this morning, Linda, with the charge sheet? And important to note for our viewers that that charge of murder has been removed.
Charges of murder being removed, Michelle, and you'll remember the only person that was facing the murder charge after it was withdrawn from Zolile Sekeleni, the father of Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, was Newzroom. This is the former G4S employee who's accused number 1 in this matter. This is the same person who was said to be a supervisor on the night that Thabo Bester escaped. So at this point, the state then choosing to remove that murder charge. They told us initially that the investigations will guide how they charge people in this matter, and as and when new information is presented, they will then act accordingly and do accordingly, in terms of that charge sheet. And that is why last week we saw, the removal of that murder charge. The charge sheet really still gives goring details of what may have happened during that time from April leading to, of course, the day that Thabo Bester, escaped. It details how, certain people, in fact, for example, the CCTV camera operator, how he was offered about 2.5 million rand to help Thabo Bester escape, and ultimately being paid about 40,000 rand. It tells us that the accused person that I've just referred to, was also promised money, but also receiving around 105,000 rand. So, investigations continue, and the reason why the last time it was postponed, Michelle, you'll remember the state had indicated that there are new developments and there are new people in this matter, and therefore it would require time to prepare adequately for bail application, which is set to take place today.
Linda, another big issue when it comes to a bail application, perhaps particularly of this nature, is convincing the court that you are indeed not a flight risk. That will be an uphill battle for Nandipha Magudumana.
Indeed. I mean, one of the things that you have to satisfy the court with is basically assuring the court that you will stand trial, you will make yourself available for trial. This is where they can find you if they need you, providing addresses and all those things that are required that will assure the court that you will indeed stand trial and you will not evade it. So one of the things that are likely, to take center stage is, of course, the fact that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was arrested in Tanzania. The state is alleging that she was on the run. A warrant of arrest was issued, but the onus basically would be on them to convince the court that she's not eligible for bail. They've already told us, Michelle, that they would oppose bail in this particular matter. So it'll be also quite interesting to see how she maneuvers around this bail application. I think one of the important things that this bail application will give us is the direction in which she will take for her defense. I think for the very first time we'll get a sense of what her defense will be, because you'll remember whatever that she says in this court, whether she decides to take the stand or depose an affidavit in this bail application, it can and may be used against her during trial stages. So she would need to think very carefully around the details that she shares, particularly because we're not at the stage where the state has shared, the evidence that it has against her. We haven't reached the stage where they would discover the dockets and all the evidence that they're going to use against her during trial. So she would need to be very careful around the information that she shares with the court. But it most importantly will give us a sense of where her defense will go and what direction it will take. It's quite clear that, even applying for bail is a brave stance, given, of course, the fact that there are also other issues of her being in possession of multiple passports, 2 passports that did not belong to her, but belong to an alleged associate of hers, who has since also opened a case of fraud against her. So those are some of the issues that should have to maneuver going into this bail application, but also the schedules of the offences that she is, accused of. They, would somewhat detail or, determine how she goes about this bail application. For example, we spoke earlier about the murder charge being withdrawn. If there was a murder charge, obviously it's a Schedule 5 offence, and that would mean that the accused persons in that charge, who's facing that charge, would have to discharge exceptional circumstances. So the schedule of these offences will then dictate how she moves and what is required for her to meet the minimum requirements for bail. So it's really going to be an interesting one, Michelle.
And she'll take the stand, Linda?
You know what, it's unclear at this moment, but I can tell you highly unlikely, Michelle, that she, will take the stand, even though it's not clear yet. Her legal team has not indicated whether or not she will take the stand. I mean, anything could happen. Anything could happen. She might even call a witness, really, to testify in this bail application. Anything can happen, but of course, the issue around, calling or taking the stand might put her at a point where she could face cross-examination and, it could really unravel a lot of things. So perhaps she might choose or opt to go with an affidavit which will detail somewhat of her personal circumstances, which will also be tricky because you'll remember there's a lot of speculation also around some of her personal circumstances. For example, we know that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is a mother. So the issue around her being a mother might, be thrust under the spotlight. The speculation that, the last time she was seen in public, she had dropped off her children at school and never returned. That at this point still remains speculation. We don't know if the state will use that kind of evidence to, oppose bail in this matter. So she will, of course, be detailing her personal circumstances, even going as far maybe as detailing how much she made, and we know that she's a business person, and all of those things may be contained in that affidavit. So when she makes, this bail application, we'll get a sense really of who, number one, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is, what her personal circumstances are, but also what her defense is likely to be.
Linda, Mnisi, you'll keep us up to date with all of the details around how this bail application unfolds over the next 2 days. Live to us there at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court.